están? I am super happy to see that you're back for another lesson for Spanish class. And today, we are going to learn how to tell time. Maybe you need to be able to tell somebody what time it is, or you need to ask what time is it at a certain point, or you need to know what time is your flight, your train, or something like that. We're gonna take care of that today. If you are new to my channel, I am teacher Catalina and I teach Spanish. I would like to invite you to subscribe to my channel so you can continue learning Spanish with me. So let's get started with learning how to tell time. Let's focus on this question right here. ¿Qué hora es? ¿Qué hora es? Very good. ¿Qué hora es what we're going to use when we want to ask, hey, what time is it? ¿Qué hora es? So now that you know how to ask for the time, you need to be able to understand whatever the answer is, or what if somebody asked you, ¿Qué hora es? You should be able to answer. I want to make sure that you know that I'm going to cover two different ways of telling time. It may vary from country to country, but after this lesson, you should be covered. Let's pay attention to these two things on our board. When we're talking about one, we're going to say es la una. And that's going to be because one is singular. For everything else, we're going to say son las, because we're talking about more than 1 hour, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on and so forth. So, es la una, son las dos, son las tres, son las cuatro. That's an important thing that you need to keep in mind because that 1 hour is going to be a little bit special since it's singular. Everything else will be son las, given that they are going to be more than 1 hour, so it's plural. Okay, amigos, let's put in practice that we just learned. So right now, we would say es la una, en punto. En punto, it's gonna be on the dot when you're talking about some hour that is o'clock. Es la una en punto. Es la una en punto. ¿Qué hora es? Es la una en punto. Now we would say, son las dos en punto. Son las dos en punto. It is 2 o'clock. And you're going to continue that with all of the numbers. So let me show you an example here a little bit further. So we would say, son las 6 en punto. Son las 6 en punto. We would say, son las 11 en punto. Son las 11 en punto. And finally, let's try 12 o'clock. We would say, son las 12 en punto. Son las 12 en punto. So now, you should be able to talk about all of the hours where they're in the o'clock setting. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, all the way up to 12. Es la una for 1, son las, and then whatever the number is, all the way up to 12. Bien?
Yes.
Perfecto. Now we're going to divide our clock all the way from o'clock until half, and that's what we're going to be focusing on right now. From o'clock until half. The other half we'll do in a little bit later, but right now I need your attention. So we already know how to say en punto. En punto is o'clock. Now let's go to the half an hour, and that would be half. So when we are talking about anything from o'clock to half, it's a little bit like an addition problem. We are going to say it is 1 and half. It is 1 and 10. It is 1 and 20, so on and so forth. So for 30, we're going to use half, the word half. And that is going to be the word media. Media is half. So right now we would say son las 12 y media. Son las 12 y media. That's for 30. Half of the clock, media. Media means half. If it was 1:30, one is special, remember? We would say es la una y media. Es la una y media. Media is half. Moving on to 2, we would say son las 2:30. Son las 2:30. And you're going to continue doing that with 3, 4, 5, and 6. And all the way up to this way because we're still staying on half. So for example, we would say son las 10:30. Son las 10:30. Son las 11:30. I think you got the half. Okay, let's keep going. You already know en punto y media. Now let's focus on a quarter. So for a quarter, we're simply going to say y cuarto, which is and a quarter. Be careful with that spelling. I know it looks very similar to the number 4, but number 4 is cuatro, quarter is cuarto. That A and the R, you gotta be careful with the placing. So in this case, we would have son las 12:15. Son las 12:15. Son las 2:15. Son las 2:15. Let's go back to our 1. And I'm gonna ask you to think. What do you think would be the proper way to say it's 1:15, 1:15? Very good. I love that you remember that 1 is singular. So we need to say es la 1:15. Es la 1:15. Remember, 1 is special. We can keep going. Let's go a little bit this way to kind of work with the higher numbers. So in that case, we would have son las 11:15. Son las 11:15. So very important that we remember en punto y cuarto and y media. So far, those are special terms that we use for a clock and a quarter and a half. Bien. So what about all of those other numbers between a clock and a half? What do? We still are going to treat this like an addition problem. So we're going to say the hour and then the number, whatever it is, the minutes. So for example, 3:05, we're going to say son las 3:05. Son las 3:05. If we want to be really picky here and maybe do 7, we would say son las 3:07. Son las 3:07. And that works for everything between a clock and a half. Of course, keeping in mind our special en punto, y cuarto, and y media. So, for example, we could go here and we would say son las 3:21. Son las 3:21. We can keep going and we could come here and we could say where it's almost y media, but it's not yet. Then we would say son las 3:29. Son las 3:29. So that is how you tell time from a clock to y media, half. En punto to y media. Bien? Keep it like an addition problem. Always the hour, y, then the minutes. Before we go, let's do our special time, which would be 1. We would say, es la 1:16. Es la 1:16. Remember, 1 is special. Always es la. Es la. Because it's 1 hour. Es la 1:16. And that's it. Now you should be able to tell time from a clock to a half. Let's now focus on this side of the clock. Now, before I show you the clock, el reloj, after the half hour back to the o'clock, I want to tell you that time after the half hour can get a little bit tricky. It is not hard, it's just some things that we have to keep in mind. I want you to think about it like a subtraction problem. How is that? Basically, you're going to round up to the next hour and you're going to subtract the number of minutes to get to that hour. Did you catch that?
Uh-oh.
I don't think so. I know. It's actually easier when you see it, but I want to kind of prepare you so that when you see it, it's not too foreign to you. So again, you're going to round up to the next hour and you're going to subtract the number of minutes to that hour. Let me show you. Okay, amigos, what I want you to do right now is to look at this clock. What time do you see? Do you see 2:40?
Yes.
Muy bien. Now, would you agree with me if I told you that 2:40, it's 3 minus 20 minutes?
Yes.
Yes? Good. That's exactly what we're doing. So our formula says we're going to round up to the next hour, and then we're going to subtract the number of minutes to that hour. So in this case, what would be the next hour? Very well. The next hour will be 3. So we're going to say son las 3 menos, minus. How many minutes do we have until we get to 3? Very good. 20. So we're going to say son las 3 menos 20. 3 minus 20. Would you agree that 3 o'clock, minus 20 is 2:40?
Yes.
Good. Is that the time you see here?
Yes.
Great. So that's basically the formula that we're going to use to talk about any time between half and a clock, the other half of the clock. Son las, whatever hour it is, round it up to the next hour, menos the number of minutes. Take a really good look at this one because we're bringing back our 1 and we have to be careful. What time do you see? Very good. It is 12:50. So our rule says that anything after half, we have to round up to the next hour, which would be, very good. So we're going to say, es la una. And how many minutes are we going to subtract? Very good, 10. So we're going to say, es la una menos 10. Es la una menos 10. It is 1 minus 10. That makes it 12:50, right? So that's how you tell time. But again, if you're rounding up to 1 o'clock, you have to keep that 1, es la una, in the singular form. Bien?
Perfect.
Perfecto. Now let's look at the quarter. In this side, we said that this would be y cuarto, and a quarter. We're gonna do something a little bit similar, but in this case, we're gonna say minus a quarter. So we're gonna say menos cuarto. So if we look at the clock, what time do you see? Very good. So we have 1:45. So our rule says we're gonna round up to the next hour. So we're gonna say son las 2 menos cuarto. Son las 2 menos cuarto. It is 2 minus a quarter, which would make it 1:45. Here's another example. What time do you see? Very well. So we have 7:58. So our job is to round up to the next hour. So we're going to say son las 8 menos 2. Son las 8 menos 2. So it's 8 minus 2 would be 7:58. Do you see how it works?
Yes.
Perfecto. Here's a little bit of vocabulary that you're going to need when you're telling time. Let's say it is midnight. You would say, es la medianoche. There's no need to tell the time necessarily, although you could, but you could answer just with, es la medianoche. It's midnight. If it's noon, you could say, es el mediodía. Es el mediodía. Now, we have morning, we have afternoon, and we have night. You probably already know this, but just in case, we're going to say de la mañana for in the morning, de la tarde for in the afternoon, and de la noche for at night. So for example, if it's 7 in the morning, I would say son las 7 de la mañana. Son las 7 de la mañana. If it's 7 at night, I would say son las 7 de la noche. Son las 7 de la noche. Do you see how we use this vocabulary? Excellent. So let's review a little bit now that we've finished this specific way of telling time. So es la una for 1 and any of the 1 variations. Son las for any other time. Son las dos, son las tres, son las cuatro, so on and so forth. That's important when you're telling time or when somebody tells you the time. Then we have a little bit of vocabulary that you needed to know. We have en punto, 4 o'clock, y cuarto for a quarter, so 6:15, 7:15, y media for a half, 7:30, 8:30, so on and so forth. Menos cuarto when it's 15 minutes till the next hour. So 8:45, 9:45, and those kinds of things. Now, what if you want to talk about when an event is happening, or you want to know when an event is taking place, or something like that? You're going to say a la una for one, or a las dos, a las tres, a las cuatro for the rest of the hours. So again, es la una is for it is one right now. A la una is what we're going to use when some event is taking place. The same thing happens for the plural. Son las dos, it is 2 right now. A las dos, something is happening at 2. Let me give you an example of this. Es la una de la tarde. It is 1 in the afternoon. Or I could say, tengo clase a la una de la tarde. Tengo clase a la una de la tarde. I have a class at 1 in the afternoon. Do you see how we use es la versus a la? The same thing happens for the plural forms. Son las 4 de la tarde. Or, la fiesta es a las 4 de la tarde. La fiesta es a las 4 de la tarde. One we said it is 4 o'clock, and in the other one we said the party it's at 4 o'clock. Muy bien, amigos. Now you should be able to tell time. But I want to give you a disclaimer. The way that I just taught you is used in some countries, and it's also going to be the way that most of your Spanish teachers are going to be teaching you. However, in some other countries, and in mostly all parts of Latin America, we tell time a little bit different. So I want to show you that too, in case you're traveling or in case you want to use that form. But again, the previous form that I just taught you works in a lot of countries, and it's also going to be the one that most teachers are going to use for your classes. Okay, so we have our clock back. The main thing that I want to tell you is that a lot of the vocabulary still applies, but I want you to continue to think as the clock as an addition problem rather than a subtraction. For example, here we have 2:40. In the previous part of the lesson, I told you that we would round up to the next hour and subtract the minutes. So we would say, son las 3 menos 20. Now I'm telling you that some countries will be totally okay saying it is 2:40. So we could say, son las 2:40. Son las 2:40. Is it wrong to say, son las 3 menos 20? No. But in some countries, they are not going to use that form, and they're just going to stick to basically saying it how it is and using the numbers accordingly. So son las 2:40. Whatever way you choose to do it, just kind of, if you're traveling, just kind of get a sense of what kind of telling time they're using, and then you can go from there. Here's another example, guys. So it is 5:50. We could say son las 6 menos 10. 6 minus 10 would be 5:50. Or we could say son las 5:50. Son las 5:50. Yes, you will need to make sure that you're comfortable with higher numbers, because now we're gonna go all the way up to 59, but just know that some countries will use this form. Bien? Here's an example with 1. So right now we have it is 1:32. So in some Latin American countries, we would say es la 1:32. Es la 1:32. Again, you can do that, or you can round up to the next hour and subtract the minutes. That's it, amigos. Those are the only 2 ways of telling time that we are going to be covering, and making sure that you are comfortably telling time or understanding time whenever you're talking to a Spanish speaker. Please remember that if you're taking this as a class, at a school, at a university, or at a college, I probably recommend that you check your textbook and with your teacher to make sure that you're using the correct form. If you are traveling, then kind of get a sense of what kind of telling time they're using in that country. Can you go wrong? No, most likely either one is going to make sure that you're understood or that you kind of understand somebody. Just remember that if you kind of know both ways, you're gonna be a little bit more comfortable no matter what situation you're put in. Okay, before I let you go, I wanna make sure that you practice a little bit to make sure that you have telling time perfectly under control. ¿Listos? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and look at some slides. I'm gonna give you a time. I'm gonna give you some time to think about it, and then I'm gonna give you the answer so you can do a self-assessment and figure out if you're comfortably able to tell time or if maybe you need to review a little bit. If you need to review a little bit, don't panic. It's totally okay. Just remember you can watch and re-watch this video as many times as you need to. ¿Qué hora es? Son las 10:10 de la mañana. ¿Qué hora es? Son las 8:04 de la noche. ¿Qué hora es? Son las 6 en punto de la noche. ¿Qué hora es? Son las 12:05 de la mañana or son las 11:55 de la mañana. ¿Qué hora es? Son las 12:15 de la tarde. ¿Cómo te fue? How did you do with time? I know, it can be a little tricky, but all it takes is practice. So kind of get comfortable. What I recommend is from here on, every time that you look at your watch, your phone, a clock around your house, try to think how you would say that time in Spanish. All it's going to take is practice, practice, practice. Don't get frustrated with yourself. Remember that taking a foreign language takes time, but you're putting all of your effort and time into it, and I'm super proud of you. You're going to get far. Muchas gracias for joining me today. Please remember that if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, I would like to invite you to do that right now. You can click on the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you make sure you are notified every time that I upload a new lesson. If you like this lesson, please give it a thumbs up, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Adios!